All right. Good afternoon and welcome. At this time, I would like to call the meeting of the Strategic Planning Committee to order. Ambassador Rude cannot be here this afternoon. Hopes to be here first thing in the morning, so I'm going to, and Governor Frost, our Vice Chair, is on the phone, but is a little under the weather. So, Pat, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I'm here. Thank you. Sorry about there, but
Okay.
I am here. Yes.
Well, Patricia, thank you for being on the phone. So I'm going to ask Minoka to call the roll, please.
Okay. We know Chair Rude is not here. Vice Chair Frost, I heard you on the phone.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Dr. Chopra? Here. Chair Colson?
Here.
Governor Lautenbach? Governor Morton?
Here.
And Governor Webster. Chair Colson, you have a quorum.
Thank you. First item of business is to approve the committee minutes from its February 13, 2013 meeting. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We got a motion. We have a second. Any discussion, changes, deletions, additions? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Last year we had a robust and meaningful dialogue about each of the university's 2012 and 2013 work plans. Over the next 2 days, I expect that the same quality of give and take will occur between this committee and our institutions. These work plan discussions are extremely important because they provide the committee with the opportunity at a mid-year point to examine performance metrics, university goals and challenges, proposed enrollments, and proposed new academic degrees. As stated in the introduction on page 2 of the actual work plan templates, I want to remind the committee, as well as the universities, that the board's approval of a work plan does not constitute approval of any particular component, nor does it supersede any necessary approval processes that may be required for each component. At this time, I would like Dr. Ignash to make a very brief presentation providing an overview of the place of these work plans in the board's strategic planning process and describe how this meeting will proceed. Dr. Ignash?
Thank you, Chair Colson. These university work plans are included in what the Board of Governors refers to as the 3 great books. At the outset is the board's long-range strategic plan, and that has general goals, performance metrics, and goals specific to those metrics. Then at the end is the annual accountability report that gauges whether the system and its institutions are on track to meet those goals in the strategic plan. So the strategic plan is prospective, the annual accountability report is retrospective, and in between lies the individual university work plans, which is a strength of the Florida system that few states emulate. These individual university work plans provide review performance indicators, and they provide a vehicle for dialogue between the campuses and the board on strategic direction, and they set the stage for any discussions pertaining to tuition and fee increase requests. This dialogue is what will be occurring over the next 2 days. It's important to note that while most university systems have strategic plans and accountability reports, these university work plans are truly unique. And as I mentioned, it is a true strength of the Florida system, and that will be mentioned in a report, national report later on during this board meeting. The inner workings of these 3 great books then is truly setting the standard for national best practice. So here's some housekeeping sort of to set the stage for how the meeting is going to go these next couple of days. Each university will make a 20-minute presentation, followed by questions and dialogue from the board members for another 25 minutes or so. And because each university work plan contains out-year projections, and the board will approve the current year's work plan and then accept the out years. Any work plan not approved at this meeting will be required to submit to the full board at its September meeting any revisions. It's also possible that the board may wish to provide specific direction to institutions with respect to next year's work plans. So that will unfold over the course of the meeting these next couple of days. The work plans have several major sections, and this is just to orient folks to those major sections. The first section is the strategy section, and it provides narrative on mission, vision, market strategy, strengths and challenges, and the three most important key initiatives that the university is undertaking. The second section is on key performance indicators, a lot of data, and it also has the 3-year goals for those performance indicators. Some of the indicators are the same ones that show up in the system's annual accountability report. Here in the work plan, however, we see institutions performing against their own goals, and we see projections for the future. This third section is the operations section. It contains fiscal information, enrollment planning information, and information regarding their intentions for new program offerings. As a tool for the committee, staff has created a list of observations and questions. We reviewed each university work plan in depth. We've had board briefings with each of the members. We have sent the questions to each of the campuses. This is not a test. We wanted this to be a true dialogue, and so the campuses, the provosts have received the questions that staff developed after reviewing the work plans and identification of key issues. Another plan that we developed this year was a work plan summary, and that is not every piece of information in the work plan, but most of the key indicators in the work plan, and we've developed a side-by-side summary with all the institutions listed across. I'd like to remind folks, and we did this sort of as a reminder last year, the purpose isn't to provide side-by-side information to make comparisons across institutions. It's important to keep in mind each institution's individual mission and their unique context. What the side-by-side information and data is meant to do is to provide a context for clearly distinguishing the uniqueness of one institution from another. So, thank you, Chair Colson.
Thank you very much. I would tell the board members that if you're not on the strategic planning committee, you're welcome to ask questions as we go forward, and participate in the discussion as much as you'd like, or until I tell you you've done it too long, and then I do commend everybody to read the summary. Perhaps it's not there to provide side-by-side comparisons, but it does provide side-by-side comparisons if you wanted to look at it in that way, and I think it's important that we do that from time to time. Okay, University of Florida. President, welcome.
Thank you, Governors. It is a pleasure to be here. I'd like to publicly thank Vice Chancellor Ignash for making it possible, because of scheduling issues, for us to go first. We appreciate it very much. With me is the Chair of our Board of Trustees, David Brown, and we will have the initial 20-minute presentation delivered by Provost Joe Glover.
And for your information, I can't see this, so I have no idea. And we have a clock here, but the chair can't see it. So one of you all might want to tell me if they're, I get to tell them to be quiet or something.
You'll hear the annoying buzzer that goes off. It's already started.
So as we begin, I would like to start with a note of thanks to the legislature, to the governor, and to the Board of Governors for helping the University of Florida get recognized, and for helping the state make further investments in our university and its future. With the preeminence designation and its investment, we are so excited about an opportunity to advance our state's reputation in higher education, hopefully to spur new research and innovation, and to accelerate this high-tech economy that we're building in the state of Florida. So thanks very much to all of those who have helped us.
And so I'm going to start out with a brief overview of the University of Florida. Many board members are familiar with this, but there may be some board members who are not familiar with the particular orientation of the university. And so
Joe, I'm
it
sorry to
seems-
interrupt. You may want to pull that microphone
Little
right
closer.
over to you. I just want to make sure that Governor Frost can hear us on the telephone.
Is that better?
I
Okay.
can hear you, but it's better when you're close to the mic. Thanks.
Okay. The University of Florida is the state's sole member of the Association of American Universities, which is a collection of about 60 of the preeminent research institutions of higher education, both public and private, in North America. We are certainly committed to undergraduate education. That remains one of our core values. But as a university, we place special emphasis on research and doctoral education, both as a means of advancing the interests of the students, but also as a means of advancing the interests of the state and nation. And as a consequence of over 100 years of state investment into the University of Florida, we have a really outstanding faculty, and we have an extensive infrastructure, most of which is gathered on the University of Florida campus, which provides immeasurable benefits towards conducting our research and economic development program. We are committed to innovation and economic development, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later in the presentation. I guess I have to click too. Consistent with our emphasis on research and doctoral education, the University of Florida is among the 3 largest doctoral enrollees or enrollers in the United States. As I mentioned, we have an outstanding core of faculty who number about 4,200, and they are accompanied by an extensive research infrastructure. We are equipped to tackle the major scientific, medical, environmental, and social challenges that face the nation and the world. We back that up with more than $650 million in annual research funding that we win, most of which is won on a competitive basis. The point perhaps worth underlining is that we have all of this infrastructure on one campus, all of these faculty and all these disciplines, and the ability of faculty to walk across the hall and consult another faculty member in another discipline is incredibly valuable. These days we know that the major federal agencies are increasingly pouring their money into major interdisciplinary initiatives, and this is an area in which the University of Florida is really poised to excel and already has excelled to a large extent. For today, we would like to concentrate the discussion on 5 principal topics: the Top 10 Initiative, the Florida Online Institute, the General Education Core Program. All of those 3 were recently addressed by the legislature in a recent statute. The 4th will be the University's Innovation Academy, and the 5th will be our participation in economic development efforts in the state. So the Top 10 Initiative. Thanks in large part to the legislature and the governor, and with the support of the Board of Governors, UF is poised to invest $15 million in recruiting top faculty talent. This is the key to the University of Florida rising into the top 10, because in the end, all of the achievements of the university are basically the achievements of the faculty. This investment will be matched with $15 million per year for 5 years to support faculty that President Machen has pledged to raise as an accompaniment to the $15 million that the state will invest in new faculty each year. Its goal is really to jumpstart our faculty and to jumpstart our research effort, and to invest carefully and wisely in areas that will have the greatest potential for UF and the state of Florida to succeed in this competition, and it is a national competition. So, accompanying this investment in faculty it's necessary to invest in the research programs that they undertake. It's necessary to invest in the doctoral programs and the graduate students who often work shoulder to shoulder with faculty in laboratories. And so we will be augmenting the faculty investment with investment in the doctoral programs. Now, the question is, how do we invest? Okay, this is a subject of discussion for the entire summer. But one of the things I would like to underline for you is we just don't throw things into a hat and pull things out of the hat. And increasingly, we have at our disposal some powerful analytic tools, and in particular, the University of Florida is engaging at this moment with a new tool which is called academic analytics, which allows us to benchmark the scholarly productivity of individual faculty members, departments, colleges, and research groups. Their analysis is quantitative, and it's certainly going to assist us in making strategic investment decisions. The Florida Online Institute was also addressed in statute, and in fact the University of Florida is now charged with mounting a 4-year undergraduate online, fully online institute and to maintain the quality of the University of Florida programs in doing so. So we have had for quite a long time an extensive online degree program, more than 70 programs. However, most of it to date has been concentrated in the graduate and professional levels. And this has been due to explicit and clear demand at that level. However, with the Florida Online Institute, we will now be focused on creating a 4-year undergraduate program. And we are charged and fully intend to maintain our high admission standards and the quality of our curriculum and the content of what we deliver. Also contained in the statute is a charge that residential students are to be charged 75% of tuition that we do charge for the traditional residential program on the campus. In addition, the fees will be kept to a minimum, and this is all intended to keep this online experience as affordable as possible for the citizens of Florida. Now, because this is anticipated to be a fully online program and students may be taking this around the state and around the world, in fact, the fees are kept to a minimum because it is assumed that students in this program in general will not be availing themselves of the services on the campus for which students normally pay fees. However, the legislation does provide the option of permitting students to access those services on the residential campus if students wish to do so. In that case, we may charge extra fees, and it's now a subject of some discussion as to what services we might consider offering and what would be an appropriate fee to charge them. But that remains an undecided issue at this point. The legislation specifies that an advisory committee will be created. The advisory committee will advise the Board of Governors, the Board of Trustees, and the President on the progress and prospects for the Florida Online Institute. We are also charged with coming up with a detailed business plan by September 1st of this year. That is underway with all due speed at the moment, because we are charged with being operational in January of 2014. And all indications are that we will meet that timeline at this point in time. As an initial offering, we intend to offer 5 baccalaureate degree programs, and we have plans to add 5 programs annually beginning in the fall of 2014. The 5 programs that we will have available in January of 2014 include business, sports management, health education, criminology and law, and environmental management. What are we doing now? It is a very short timeline, and you will soon have a report from us through the advisory group and through the submission of our business plan, but we are engaged in a number of activities which are proceeding with all due speed. In particular, we are in the process of preparing very high quality lower division course materials. We have had several upper division baccalaureate degree programs available fully online for a number of years now. However, those have really been thought of as 2+2 programs and have accepted mostly transfer students. So we are needing to fill in at this point with the lower division courses, and so we have an intensive effort underway to develop those. We are engaged in considering how to advertise, how to brand, and how to recruit students for this. No one has ever done this before, and so these are all new areas for us to explore. We are exploring how to provide student services. We are aware that one of the great values of a University of Florida education, half of it comes in the classroom, but half of it comes outside of the classroom. And so for a student who may never set foot on the University of Florida campus, how do you translate into the virtual environment the student experience? Obviously, you can't do that exactly, but we, through our Vice President for Student Affairs Office, is beginning to explore the types of extracurricular and co-curricular activities that we can offer online. And as I mentioned, we are planning for additional degrees. One of the things that we've been very proud of in the past several years is, long before the current statute existed in the legislature, we asked the question, could we have a common humanities course on the University of Florida campus? This is something that most universities have lost over the past 25, 30, 40 years. There used to be a common core, which served several purposes. It served to introduce the students to the important questions and the important aspects of undergraduate life as they transitioned from high school into the college environment. It served to provide a bonding or a common experience for the freshman class. Even now, when we talk to our Grand Guard, our alumni who graduated 40, 50 years ago, the things they often remember most fondly are the courses that they took in common with their fellow students. And so we asked the question, could we have a common humanities course that would be a requirement for all freshmen? And the humanities faculty came together and actually produced a course which is called the Good Life course, colloquially on campus. And what it does is it asks the question, what does it mean to lead a good life? From a religious perspective, from an economic perspective, from an ethical and moral perspective, as reflected in literature, as reflected in the arts. It has proved to be a tremendous experience for the freshmen and the sophomore students. We believe it provides a shared bond and something which may have been a little bit lacking on a campus of 45,000 students. The legislature was gracious enough to allow the University of Florida to require up to 9 or 12 credits of all undergraduates. And so, as a consequence, we intend to devote the next academic year to a full discussion about the campus's vision for this core requirement. What should it be? What should it attempt to do? How would we mesh this core requirement with the other gen ed requirements that are required in statute and by the university, and to try and develop a strategy to realize this vision? So this is a really exciting opportunity that is going to engage everyone on the campus over the next academic year. The Innovation Academy. The Innovation Academy is an ongoing experiment at the University of Florida. A number of years ago, it was devised, frankly, initially, as a way to provide greater access to the citizens of Florida to the University of Florida residential campus. As we developed that access program, which was initially called the Spring-Summer Cohort, we wanted to give it a special value or give the students something extra in this program. And so we endowed it with a minor curriculum which emphasizes innovation, entrepreneurship, and creativity. So you can take one of 29 majors, everything from music to physics to sociology to computer science in this academy, and at the same time you will learn about entrepreneurship, creativity, and innovation, and hopefully emerge from this academy understanding how your major integrates and applies to the real world. It is a very unusual and perhaps even unique program in the United States in the sense that students attend the University of Florida residentially on the campus in the spring and the summer terms. They do not attend in the fall. During the fall, they're welcome to engage in study abroad experiences, internships, or other extracurricular activities, but normally they attend in the spring and the summer. We're only in our second year of it, but so far we already have the indications of success. In our inaugural class, 330 students enrolled. We have just completed admitting and receiving acceptances from the second cohort of students to come into the Innovation Academy, and 375 students have accepted our offer of admission. They will begin in January of 2014. We think this is a really good sign. We've had a lot of interest and excitement from universities around the country about this program, and we think that it shows great promise for success. We are engaging right now in a mini review of the program to identify the strengths and opportunities, and if there are any problems cropping up, to identify them and address them as quickly as possible. And finally, the last topic I'm going to address in the 3.5 minutes that remain is the University of Florida's work in economic development and innovation. UF has been a major contributor to the state's inventions and to the state's new business startups. We generate normally more than 1/3 of the state's new inventions and the majority of university startups. In 2012, the university helped start 15 new companies, and UF is concentrating this activity in Innovation Square, which is a 20-acre parcel, formerly was the home to Alachua General Hospital, for those of you who may remember it. And the first building to go up on this 20-acre parcel was the Florida Innovation Hub, completed in 2012. Innovation Square is now developing as a 24/7 live, work, play urban research park, providing resident companies with space, laboratories, accounting help, legal help, enabling them to focus on technology and market strategies. The hub itself, that first building, has more than 24 tenants, and at least 9 companies have already graduated. A second privately funded incubator will break ground at Innovation Square this month. So through this and through its other efforts, and simply through its existence as the state's preeminent research university, UF is also attracting major high-tech businesses to north central Florida. In particular, 3 recent examples: Mindtree, which has brought 400 jobs over 5 years, paying an average wage of $80,000. Mobiquity, which is bringing 260 jobs over 3 years, paying an average of $49,000 per job. And the Sears Holdings Corporation recently decided to open a center of excellence primarily to access university talent. They have had centers of excellence in other areas of the country which frankly did not satisfy them. And so they've chosen to move their center of excellence to Gainesville to access the University of Florida. And so, in summary, with significant support from the governor, the Florida legislature, and the Board of Governors, UF in 2013-14 will move forward in the 5 key areas which I've briefly outlined. The Top 10 initiative, in which we try and goose UF into making a quantum leap into the top 10 among the public universities of this nation. The Florida Online Institute, in which we will provide high-quality 4-year baccalaureate degrees to the residents of Florida in a completely online environment. The General Education Core Program, in which we try and bring a core curriculum to the University of Florida. Innovation Academy, providing students a unique opportunity in innovation, entrepreneurship, and creativity, and our continuing efforts in economic development. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Provost Glover, for your report, and I'm sure people have lots of questions. I have a lot of questions, but let me open it up to the governors first. Any questions? Governor Morton.
Thank you. I'd like to start with the core that was discussed in the business plan. Has there been any conversation as respects the introduction of a course in civics and some of the lessons that some of the people that I've talked to in secondary education are beginning to concentrate on civics and our responsibilities as citizens? Has there been any conversation about introduction of that into your core?
Not explicitly, because we have not engaged the faculty in the discussion of how to expand the core beyond the good life. However, I will tell you that the Bob Graham Center for Public Service on the University of Florida campus has identified civics education as a major need both at the university and in the state of Florida. Our curriculum committee recently approved a new course in civics which the Graham Center has created, and they will mount that as an online course for University of Florida students and for anyone in the state of Florida who would like to take it. So we are making progress in that direction, but at the moment we have not considered how to expand the core specifically.
A second subject, how about ethics? Have we considered a course in ethics as part of the core?
Again, we have not discussed exactly what should go into the core. There are certainly faculty on the campus who have expressed the belief that civics and ethics should be part of the core, but I think we need to have that discussion to reach consensus on campus about how we construct this.
I would suggest we take a look at ethics and civics as essential building blocks of a stronger system and a stronger nation. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Governor, I would just like to comment. We welcome dialogue on this issue. The shoehorn issue, though, is we only got 12 hours, and we're probably going to allow some flexibility within that core. But there are issues that have been raised about critical thinking. How do we know our students can become critical thinkers? How do we know many of the students who never go near the humanities will have an appreciation for the arts and culture and that? So it's going to be an interesting dialogue, but I would tell you that we would welcome suggestions and input from all comers, especially from the Board of Governors, as we sort this out.
On this point, the American Council of Trustees and Alumni report on the Florida system, which was very complimentary, we're going to have a report from them on Thursday. It pointed out one of the weaknesses was that we didn't have a requirement of economics, and we didn't have any foundation courses in U.S. history and government and civics, and as a suggestion of ways to improve our core. I would also suggest that perhaps the core for a STEM major might be different than the core for a history or humanities major, who perhaps might need some basic instruction on how to, computer software and things of that nature that they won't get, but they will need in the rest of their lives. So I throw that out, and I don't know.
Well, I think your point is well taken. I think everyone should understand the role that science and technology play in society in a general sense. But I think this is part of the puzzle that we will all face in the fall with the 12 credits and all of these. I mean, just in this short discussion, we've mentioned civics and ethics, American history, economics, the role of science and technology. Somehow we have to pick and choose in the 12 credits that we're allowed. So it'll be a vigorous and interesting academic discussion, I think, this year.
I wanted to talk about the top 10 a little bit. You've been given $15 million a year for 5 years, I think the suggestion is going to be, and you're going to match that for 5 years. So $30 million, $150 million total. I don't know that that's enough money to get you into the top 10. Do you have an opinion on that?
I do. It's not. I made a big mistake, and I'm learning. When I sat down with the governor, he said, "What do you need?" And I said, $30 million. He said, "I'll give you 15." So I wish I'd have asked for 60, then I would have gotten 30. But we have to be reasonable in the sense of what is practical in this environment for the state to invest. And we think we can make a good run with those kinds of new resources if we make the right decisions. Everyone wants to know, well, how we're going to measure this. Well, we've identified 29 top 10 benchmarks for public universities. These are markers that are publicly available that track in the national scene about all the universities. And of the 29, we're already in the top 10 in 22 of them. We're in the top 10 in 22 out of the 29 today. And the ones where we are most wanting are in the resources for faculty side. And that's why the entire amount we're going to raise is going to be focused on faculty. So I think that's the most strategic decision we have already made, and I think it's the right one. Now, within that, we're just going to have to hope we make the right choices.
Now, do you approach this by deciding, I'm going to go after this subject area, some sort of neuroscience area, or do you approach it and say, what type of faculty are out there that can I get? And do you go look for the faculty and then that dictates the subject area, or do you go look at the subject area and hope you can find some faculty?
It's a combination of a lot of different approaches. One thing you have to understand is where the country is moving in terms of investment. So we have to identify the research areas that NSF, the NIH, the Department of Defense feels are very important, are going to invest in the future. We have to identify the areas in which University of Florida already has some strength, because you want to build on that strength. You want to identify areas that are ripe for the next major advance, because that's where you want to make your move. Sometimes it is a matter of saying, you know, I can go over to this other university and recruit a group of people that I can add to my people, and we'd have something fantastic. So it's a combination of, I think, of very good foresight, some accurate prediction, some opportunistic moves, and some good luck, quite honestly.
If I were to ask you in September to tell us what's it really going to cost to get into the top 10, how close can you get me to a real number?
It would be it's like people who put budgets together. You know, they think they're going to make this happen in a 12-month cycle. It would be a guess, Dean, Mr. Colson. I can tell you the state of Connecticut just committed $150 million a year for 10 years to raise the academic status of the University of Connecticut. That's a $1.5 billion. I don't think this is entirely about money, though. I think it's about synergy, and that's where I think we have some advantages. Number one, we have a very heterogeneous collection of disciplines already on campus. It's not likely we're going to start something from scratch here. It's also not likely we're going to start people who are very junior in their careers here. So we're going to try to catch what has been a rising tide at the university and see if we can't just accelerate that rise.
Mr. Chairman, you're doing a heck of a job at the University of Florida. You got anything you want to add here?
No, I think I appreciate the comments that President and Provost are making. We just finished a retreat of the Board of Trustees, I guess it was a week and a half ago. And I can tell you the energy on campus and around the Board of Trustees and the faculty is entirely discernible. And I think, you know, I was talking to Dr. Matchin after the Board of Trustees meeting, and we've always wanted to be focused on top 10. I now believe we're going to get to top 10. You know, we've been talking about it for a long time. I believe that President Matchin and his team have a plan. I believe they're filtering the plan and focusing it in the right direction, and I believe we're going to get the right result. But it's going to be, it's going to take an incredible amount of work and focus, and I think that's the hardest thing we have to do, is really stay focused on where we're aimed right now. And I think the Board of Trustees is in a good place to do that.
Thank you. Governor Hussaini, then I'll come over to you all.
So, Mr. President, Provost, Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of questions, and this is not patting you in the back. I'm just trying to learn. There was a couple of 2-3 things that is just hugely important to me, and I think is to the board and legislators and especially the governor. I want to talk about the STEM. You know, in the last 3 years, we've been telling our universities about the STEM graduates, and we're not asking that, you know, to just increase our STEM graduates by huge numbers. I mean, we're looking for some really meaningful number increase. So if you look at University of Florida, in your work plan, you said in 2013 and 14, you are at 33%. And the biggest universities that are close to you, you know, they are around 20%, 17%, 16%. And then we asked them, and this is where we asked them, so what are you going to do next? What's next year? And remember, we've been saying this for 3 years now. You go all of a sudden in 2013, 14 to 15, 16 from 33%, which is the highest by far, to 36%, a 3% increase. And the rest of our universities, again, the big universities, they're going either no increase is the same or 1%. what is your success? Why are you successful at that? What is it that you, first of all of a sudden you're going to jump to 36%, and to start with, you have such a higher STEM degree students?
I think there are a couple of answers to that, or a couple of factors that play into that. One factor is, frankly, we see the student body tending more in that direction themselves. The students opt into majors, and whether it's a combination of the economic trends or people talking about STEM or students' own interests, we are seeing a gravitation on the University of Florida campus a little bit more into STEM. The second factor is that we have made more opportunities available. For example, we have a new undergraduate major in biomedical engineering. The engineers tell me that on most campuses where such a major exists, that grows to be half of the College of Engineering. It is immensely attractive for a variety of reasons that you can imagine. It's a path into medical school, professional schools. It combines biology and engineering. So that's something new on the University of Florida campus, which is just expanding. The third factor, which is in there, is the engineering college is making deliberate efforts to expand the number of engineers which they produce. They feel that they have not been producing the capacity. And so we have structured with them some innovative new admissions programs in partnership with Santa Fe College that we believe 2 or 3 years down the road are going to result in an increased number of engineers graduating with a baccalaureate degree from the University of Florida. So we are, through a number of different avenues, increasing the number of STEM majors, but I think it's a combination of all those factors that I'm talking about.
So is this a deliberate decision on the side of the university that you want to increase your STEM? Not only
Yes.
you're already the highest,
Yes.
and then, so is it fair for us to ask our other universities, which are 16% STEM, I mean the same size or maybe a higher size at 16%, 14%, and that to ask them to come back and tell us, put plans into action to increase that STEM degrees and using like, STEM degrees and, other methods to increase that?
There are certain, some things you can't control, such as student desires, and those may vary from campus to campus. But there are some things you can do purposefully. 5 years ago, the Dean of Engineering and I decided we would create an undergraduate major in biomedical engineering. That was an affirmative step that we took, that other campuses could take, in an effort to increase the number of engineering undergraduates. The Dean of Engineering, the Director of Admissions, and I have now structured a program which reaches into our admissions pool and tries to bring students who are deliberately interested in engineering more into the mainstream and give them an opportunity to engage with the University of Florida, whereas previously they may not have had that opportunity. So I think those are the types of things that you can do if you would like to increase the number of STEM majors.
Governor Hosseini, could we be just a little cautious here? We have some advantages in that we had some momentum in the sense of a new dean came in, had started this prior to the work plans. We're already ranked number 7 nationally in undergraduate STEM degrees and number 1 nationally in graduate and STEM and professional degrees. So we were moving in this direction before the focus on STEM really caught on. Other institutions may have a longer ramp up before they could see tangible results. It takes a while because these are our most complicated degrees. You have to hire faculty. You have to sometimes change your facilities around. So I'm not comfortable being compared, or the other universities being totally compared to us.
So how long has this been up? 5 years? You've been specifically, looking into this to increase your STEM degrees. The last time I looked, you were at 27, 28%. Now your last couple of years, you've gone up to 33%. And next year, all of a sudden, you're going to jump to 36%. I understand that. So you're saying it takes longer time. I'm trying to learn. I really am. I'm trying to learn that how long does it take? What should we require from our other universities to to require them and say, we need you to increase your STEM? And how long should it take? Because we've been saying this for 3 years that I know of.
Far be it from me to give you advice, but I would talk to the presidents of those universities and ask them the question. I'm sure they know their resources and their
All right,
potential very well.
one last question. What about the graduation rate? You have the 4-year graduation rate at 67%, by far higher than anybody else, you know, and then look at some of our biggest universities, they're at 24%, 40%. Do you do anything different? Do you do anything special, something we can learn from it?
I think part of it is just the quality of the student body. I mean, we bring in some really excellent students who do their work and graduate on time. I will say that about 3 years ago, we had an unprecedented 6% percentage point jump in our 4-year graduation rate. To this day, we're not exactly sure what that was due to. We think it was a combination of factors. We think it was in part due to the recession, where students decided they couldn't afford the opportunity cost of another semester or another year at the university. We also think it was greater emphasis on the central administration's part to encourage the advisors in colleges to look at the students who had actually completed their degrees and to get them to graduate, because a lot of students will complete their requirements but would like to spend an extra year or so hanging around or attending the next football game, and we felt it was important for them to actually graduate, and if they want to stay, enroll in a master's degree program. So we did encourage that a little bit more.
What is the total number of students you have? I'm done. Just last question. What's the total number of students you have?
At the University of Florida?
Yes.
On the campus, about 47,000. If you throw in the online students, around 51,000.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Governor Tripp, then Governor
Two
Levine,
questions.
Governor Chopra.
Probably, Bernie. First one to you. In some of the reports we've read, it shows that University of Florida jumped dramatically in the number of administrators. Have you looked at that, and do you have any plans for seeing where you can cut that back to become leaner?
We looked
and
at that
maybe use
report.
some of that funding?
That's a bogus report.
Pardon?
That's a bogus report.
You don't agree with that report?
I do not.
And why?
Because they classified people as administrators who are not administrators.
What were they?
In many cases, they were faculty, or they were not administrators, but they were doing service roles, counselors, advisors, and things like that. They used a definition of administrators that no one had ever used before, and that's where they saw this big jump. We'll be glad to show you that data.
Okay, appreciate it. The second question, and the staff had brought that up, have you gotten far enough yet to look at how you're going to be able to provide the online education at a reduced rate, where everybody seems to say that the cost to get into that and to maintain it may be higher?
Yes, we have certainly taken a look at that, and as everyone on the board knows, the legislation specifies that the online rate is to be at a 25% discount as compared to the residential rate. And so if you make a few little assumptions, you can do a back of the envelope calculation and ask the question, how many students do you need enrolled in order to break even? Okay. If you're only enrolling 10 students, obviously you're losing tons of money. If you're enrolling 10,000 students, you're making it up on volume. Okay, even at a reduced rate, you're making an enormous profit with 10,000 students. So the question becomes, where do you break even? And we've done that preliminary calculation. We think it's somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500 students if you have them enrolled year after year. And so I think the experiment, if you will, is can we build demand and recruit the students and get them to enroll, so after 2 or 3 years we reach that break-even point and exceed it. After that, we are actually making revenue that, per the statute, will be reinvested into this program and the other research programs at the University of Florida.
So is just final
Governor
question.
Tripp, could I just
Yes.
add to that, if you don't mind? We entered this institute agreement with the legislature on faith. a good faith from their end and ours. We don't know how that's going to work out going in, but they were nice enough to give us some front-end funding to make sure we didn't lose it till we got it up and running. But this is a work in progress. Until we actually get the programs rolling out, we won't be able to make that fine point. But the legislature made it very clear they wanted to increase access by lowering entry costs, and we agreed with that. We're just not sure what that actual point will be over time.
And just one last thing, the sports management, why did you pick that? Did you figure you're going to get volume there? Was that kind of a loss leader?
No. As I mentioned, the University of Florida actually had undergraduate programs on the 2+2 system. So for a number of years, we've been accepting junior transfers from state colleges into our upper division programs. The 5 programs that I mentioned are the 5 programs that we already had fully online. So it is very natural to just build those out as the initial entrance to the Florida Online Institute. As we add 5 programs per year after that, we will be more purposeful in choosing which ones we add. And so in particular to Vice Chair Hosseini's point, the next set of degree programs that we add will certainly include some STEM degrees.
Governor Chopra and Governor Levine.
Provost, one of my questions was answered in the discussion, but I want to highlight that the academic analytics tool is probably more past data based, and so you are going to enhance it with future predictions of where STEM areas and other areas are going. I think you mentioned that.
Yeah, the academic analytics, it is a measure of the scholarly productivity which has been produced, but this database is an incredible analytical tool, and I will just give you one example of what it allows us to do. So take your favorite research program at the University of Florida, maybe mathematics, that's my home department. The academic analytics software actually gives you a picture of the scholarly achievements and impact of the mathematics department nationally as compared to all of the other departments around the nation. And it allows you to ask the following question. Suppose the president Machen invests in one top-tier mathematician and drops that person into our mathematics department. The academic analytics tool will actually show you how you impact the profile of the department. So we can use that to decide where we're going to get maximum bang for our buck as we decide where to place faculty and where to make the investment. And that's just one example of the type of ability that you get through this software.
Thank you. A second question. On the Online Institute, you mentioned that you will continue to keep the high academic admission standards. Could you tell me how you're going to actually meet the role of the online university or institute that we were originally aiming for, trying to reach more people?
I'm not sure I understood the question.
Florida's admission standards are obviously very high. I believe the original goal was to try to get the online education available as access to more people.
Okay. Yes. I think it is the case that the legislature wants to increase access to high quality baccalaureate degree education, and so actually in the statute they require us to maintain the quality of what we do, and obviously that does not afford access to all slices of the residential population. But we believe that there is a significant slice of the population who does meet these requirements and who will be interested in this opportunity. So this is part of our branding and advertising and recruiting phase that we're in. We have never done this before, to our knowledge. No one in the United States has ever done this before. And so we are trying to build our capacity to advertise and recruit right now. It's a little bit exciting, a little bit hair-raising, but we believe that the students are out there, and we're going to do our best to recruit them.
So if I may just follow up on that institute will operate as a integral part of the University of Florida and not an entity outside.
Correct. It is a part of the University of Florida. The instruction will be delivered by the normal faculty in the University of Florida. If you get a degree through this institute, it will be a University of Florida degree with no indication that it was through the Online Institute. It is just is just another mode of delivery of a University of Florida degree.
Thank you.
Governor Levine, Governor Beard, then Governor Link, and we're running over, so let's.
Quick question. You know, I'm going to ask this question of each of the universities. I'm probably going to ask a little bit different of UF because of your goal of becoming top 10. How do you rank nationally with the awarding of degrees to minorities?
I just happen to have that data. The total number of undergraduate minority degrees, number 1. Total number of graduate and professional minority degrees, number 1.
So the follow-up to that question then, given that our economy is now beginning to grow again, and given that there's potential opportunity out there being created by our universities to help people find the necessary career path that they desire, what do you think are the 2 to 3 top reasons why you've had success with providing that access to minority students?
When the provost looks at me, I get nervous. Well, you know, we have a large pool of applicants. As you know, affirmative action has been illegal in this state for over a decade, and yet we have been able to recruit, enroll, and graduate minority students at almost the same rate we do majority students. So it's basically, we are able to attract a high quality of student, and they matriculate just like every other student.
Governor Beard.
Yes, sir. I've got a couple of questions. As chairman of the facilities committee, I was wondering what facilities are y'all going to need, if any, to get to the top 10?
Well, one that has been on the list for a number of years has been a new chemistry building, and the legislature granted $15 million towards that building. We need some improvements to our engineering infrastructure. That's, by the time you add it all up, that's probably another $30–40 million investment. It is certainly the case that at some point the University of Florida will need a new structure in biology. Just off the top of my head, I'd say $50–60 million. And of course, the Health Science Center never has enough buildings, but
Right.
They seem to be doing okay.
Well, I was trying to keep it specific. I know you've got a long list
Well,
of buildings.
yes,
that are
I
coming,
would, and in all frankness, chemistry, engineering, biology, I think those are
critical
probably
to
the
that-
three great
to that
needs.
goal.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And my second question is, you're projecting to grow about 2,000 students in your report to us. And I didn't, how much of that is online, or is the online academy built into that 2,000, or is that all?
Most of it is probably online. Just as a general matter of policy, the undergraduate student body is being held largely flat, aside from bringing the Innovation Academy up to steady state. Then the areas where we have growth are in graduate and professional, where we continue to be on a slow growth mode in the graduate and professional area. And online, we do expect to ramp up significantly.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Governor Link, then Governor Fossey, and then I hope we can wrap this up.
Actually, I'm going to pass on mine now.
Oh, you move up to the front. Governor Fossey.
Yes. Now, with the Online Institute come required fees, which are specified in statute, and so, those will be implemented. That's a matter of law. Aside from those required fees, we are not permitted to require any additional fees. Neither are the students allowed to access the services at the University of Florida campus. So, for example, a student who is in the Online Institute should not show up at the Student Health Center. They should not show up at the recreational facilities. They in principle cannot take advantage of certain athletic things. But if the University of Florida wants to and can arrange it, and if the students show interest, then we could offer them access to those residential facilities if they pay supplemental fees. Now, this is, you would think this would be simple, right? You would think, okay, the rec center costs $20 a month, so we just charge $20 a month. But the more the students in the Online Institute come to Gainesville and come on campus, the more it disrupts the other business models that are on campus. We have a residential business model, as I've discussed. We have an Innovation Academy business model. We have an online business model. And you have to think very carefully of the consequences of what you do. So if we provide too much access to the University of Florida campus and encourage those students to, in essence, act like residential students, it corrupts the other business models. So we're having to think very carefully about this and try to understand the consequences of whatever optional services and fees we may offer.
Okay. All right.
I've got one more.
No, geez, Norman.
Is there any concept that you're going to talk about to do any collaboration with the other universities so that at some point in time, what you do and what you build on can be transferred over? I didn't hear anything about that. It all seemed to be, it's going to be your degree, your university, you're this, you're that. And I kind of thought in our conversations previously that at least it was hoped for that you were going to take the lead, but you were going to transfer much of this technology to the other schools in the system.
Well, the statute was pretty explicit in that it charged us with developing an online institute in the context of the University of Florida. Now, a lot of what we're putting online are resources that can be made available to the other campuses. For example, we'll be putting the general education courses up on the web for anyone who wants to enroll in them, and students from other campuses would be welcome to do so, quite frankly. So I think that there are opportunities for collaboration and partnership down the road, and clearly the statewide articulation agreement applies to this new entity that we're building. But at the moment, we're scrambling to get this all in place, so it's a little bit early for us, frankly, to reach out to other campuses as we get our own house in order.
Okay. Thank you all for all the hard work that you all put in to get your work plan done, and for your presentation and participation today. I would like a second to the following motion. I move that the committee approves that portion of the University of Florida's work plan associated with the 2013-14 academic year, excluding those sections of the work plan that require any additional regulatory or procedural review or approval pursuant to the law or board regulations, and that the committee accepts the out-year portions of the work plan. May I have a second to that motion?
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Now, only a few of you are voting here, so any discussion? Okay. Well, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Patricia?
She said aye.
Aye. Okay. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you all very much.